And as the years go by,
Yeehaw!
I will never die.
Woody theory is dead. When chapters 3 and 4 came out, the lack of a cowboy boss fight combined with the references to Friend inside me seemed to confirm that Woody was not intended to be a boss within Deltarune. Although, there is a chance, a hope, lying at the bottom of our hearts, an idea, a dream, a theory. That's right, welcome to Woody Theory 2. Hello everyone, my name is Spookydood, and as you may have seen, there was no Woody-inspired secret boss in Deltarune Chapter 3. The truth is, Woody Theory is basically dead. The entire argument in favor of Woody Theory hinged upon it being in a TV dark world because the Woody character probably can't exist otherwise. Seeing that he was nowhere to be found in that dark world, it seems safe to assume that Woody Theory is officially deconfirmed. Unless, of course, you read between the lines. My name is Spookydood. Make sure to like, subscribe, and also go subscribe to my new channel, Spooky Vision, for upcoming Five Nights at Freddy's and other horror-related content. Now, let's discuss. It all begins with Tenna. In Chapter 3, Tenna has some dialogue that nearly made me puke the first time I read it. When confronted by Chris, Tenna says, "By the way, seen your father recently? Your brother? You know, we still got that cowboy program. The one your dad likes. He was bouncing you on your knee as you watched it together. Sorry, Chris, sorry, I have to go." This isn't the only reference to Asgore enjoying a cowboy show. You know the mantle minigame? Well, the first and second stages reflect the first and second stages of Tenna's game. However, the third stage in the mantle minigame is this weird empty city. As it turns out, though, this was actually meant to reflect a third, completely removed level from Tenna's game. By restoring this city level, we can find a scrapped quiz section that asks about Asgore's favorite puppet cowboy show. Chris, which show was Asgore's favorite? The answer being Cowboy Show. Now, when does Asgore's favorite cowboy puppet show air? The answer? It was cancelled, which Tenna is surprised by. So now what we've established, if you assume this quiz being scrapped doesn't automatically discredit its canonicity, is that in the world of Deltarune there was a cowboy puppet show that was cancelled. That was the big leap in logic of Woody Theory 1, that when Toby spoke of a cowboy segment that was scrapped, it being scrapped was actually part of the storyline, and it was a reference to Woody's Roundup, the show starring Woody that was cancelled in Toy Story 2. And here it is, written in plain letters. That was entirely correct. Calling it not just a cowboy show, but a cowboy puppet show confirms it. There's really no other show this could be referring to. So then, what does that tell us? All we know now is that there were originally references to Woody that were ultimately scrapped. How can we take this to the furthest extent and use it to argue that a Sheriff Woody character will appear in a future chapter? Well, there's a new connection to be made here. The puppet cowboy show was Asgore's favorite, and there's a certain reference that might tell us a little more about this cowboy. One of the prizes that Tenna advertises is a floral cowboy curtain. So there was a cowboy show Asgore liked. There are references to a floral cowboy curtain. And we know that Chapter 5, based on Gerson's description of a garden charred in a fiery inferno, as well as a prophecy of the Flower Man being trapped in asylum, will most likely take place in a Flower King dark world. What does this all mean? Well, look in Asgore's depressing bedroom. Do you see it? That's right, a television. Just because the theorized Woody didn't appear in Chapter 3's TV-based Dark World doesn't mean that Asgore doesn't have a few old tapes containing some episodes of the cowboy show he loved so much. Maybe Woody Theory isn't dead, and the cowboy secret boss is going to be in Chapter 5 rather than Chapter 3. But wait, there's more. Just yesterday, there was a whole debacle involving Toby Fox's YouTube channel. Basically, he randomly released a playlist he put together called Deltarune Covers and Remixes on his official YouTube channel, like confirmed to be official, containing exactly what you'd expect: covers and remixes of Deltarune songs by popular creators across YouTube. However, as noticed earlier yesterday morning, there was one song out of place. Toy Story, You Got a Friend in Me. This was, again, let me once more remind you, added to a playlist called Deltarune Remixes and Covers by Toby Fox himself. This can't be an accident. Shortly after everyone on social media noticed it, he suddenly removed it. This is a shitpost at worst and a disturbing threat at most. Originally, I was willing to consider the Cowboy Mike boss battle, fit with a friend inside me reference, the official end of Woody theory. After all, when you make the joke in-game and you openly put it out there, it sort of loses its legs. It's like he's acknowledging it and saying, you know, that's not real, but here's what I can give you. But to then go ahead and put this song on the playlist, it's like adding fuel to the fire just when it was about to go out. Why do it unless, of course, there are truly bigger things in store for us? Another thing worth mentioning is that since I made the original Woody theory, I never actually considered it possible that it would come true, for one big reason I've never really spoken about. Woody and the mannerisms that the fanbase has sort of given corrupted Secret Boss Woody interpretations are just too similar to Spamton. A puppet who was, in a way, cancelled with a comically long nose who hangs on strings like a marionette. If you ask me, Spamton is just too Woody-like to go and then do another Woody-specific Secret Boss. But then Tenna happened, a character who by all means is very similar to Spamton. Besides the TV head, he's very similar to the characterizations and mannerisms that the fanbase commonly associates with a sort of pre-corrupted Spamton. He even talks in a similar way, with wacky words scattered throughout his dialogue. Toby actually spoke about this on Blue Sky shortly after Chapter 3 and 4's release. He said, "Before the game came out, I thought people wouldn't really care about Tenna and simply dismiss him as a budget Spamton. I'm glad everyone seems to like him just fine. I see those two as intentionally similar characters who mutually enhance each other. You know, like Spy versus Spy." So here's Toby openly explaining that Tenna and Spamton were designed with similarities in mind. This opens the door for a Woody-themed secret boss with some similarities to previous characters. On top of this, if this theoretical floral Woody is based on flowers or plants in some way, there's always a chance that he's not as straightforwardly Woody as one would expect. However, there's even more. See, so far I've basically opened the door for there to be the possibility of a cowboy show. However, nowhere in-game is it implied that there is a cowboy character who might be out there. I mean, sure, these all could just be references, right? Well, there is one more piece of evidence that actually might imply that the cowboy character is out there. In Chapter 3, in the bottom of the outside the green room area, I don't know what you'd call it, there is this Shutta NPC who talks to you about the history of the Chapter 3 Dark World. He says, "The purple worlds, you think they give the creeps. You have seen naught but that tempered by light. In the once upon a time, there was a land like purple cliffs, a frozen waste, watery basin, a metal desert, but this theater was built upon that, and it grew. Not everyone liked the change. Some people left. Of course, that was in the days of the black and white." What this NPC is saying is that the Chapter 3 Dark World wasn't only the theater, and that originally there were other areas, including a desert, and that, in the days of the black and white, many people left. Black and white, you say, almost like Woody's Roundup. It all starts to make sense. The black and white Woody Darkner left prior to Tenna's overtaking the whole Dark World. Now he's in Asgore's house on the VHS tapes, and I mean, how that works technically, it doesn't matter. You just use that, like, last Thursdayism logic, like how Ram remembered hanging out with King and Queen and Tenna. It's like, oh yeah, the Woody guy left, and now he's in Chapter 5. Alternatively, if you do want some kind of physical explanation as for how the Cowboy Darkener could have left, it could be explained that before the land was only television, it was because Asgore lived in the house, and when he left and took his VHS tapes of Woody with him, that's why they left the Dark World. So what could this boss be? Well, I feel the need to make a few suggestions as to how it could all play out. First off, I've really enjoyed the fun names that the fandom gives to their own Woody OCs, but considering this is a plant-themed Dark World, couldn't his name just be Woody? Because, maybe he'll be in a less floral area, rather, in an area dominated by trees and heavy, thicker, woody plants. It's also worth mentioning, as much as this is a total stretch, Wikipedia describes woody plants as plants that produce wood as their structural tissue, thus having a hard stem. In cold climates, woody plants further survive winter or dry season above ground. Now consider, if the cowboy secret boss was originally part of the Chapter 3 Dark World, being a woody plant could have allowed him to survive in hotter climates. Also, considering the cold and snow are recurring themes and have come up in numerous chapters, wood D theory might stand a chance even in an area taken over by snow or against an OL. It makes sense for this theoretical character to be made of a more woody substance. After all, that terribly frightening bastard, Howdy Doody, is made of pine. As far as how the secret boss could tie into the storyline, I'm no longer sure of that. The thing is, after Spamton, my secret boss predictions mostly focused on the silly, crazy characters who knew more than they let on, and could tell Chris dark truths about their reality, about being controlled, and about freedom. At this point, that's sort of off the table. The Roaring Knight was a mandatory fight and said nothing. Gerson focused entirely on Susie and the power to change fate, so the Chapter 5 secret boss's motives and overall story arc are relatively unpredictable. Sure, it could tie into Asgore's past, Dreamer family history, Asgore's role as a police officer, considering Woody was a sheriff, or something totally unpredictable. I'd like to actually throw this one to you guys. What do you think a theoretical Chapter 5 cowboy secret boss fight would be about story-wise? So, there you have it. Woody theory is not entirely dead, we've just been wrong about where it was this whole time. It's not Chapter 3, it's Chapter 5. Thank you for what... Wait. There's more? Wait 1 second. Going back to woody plants, you know what's a woody plant? A rose, like the rose that was cut from the Weird Route cutscene in Chapter 5, and wait 1 more second. Take a look at this man. His name? Dr. Woody Flowers, who was inducted into the STEM Hall of Fame. This orange flower, it's called Cowboy's Delight, and take a look at Asgore's flower collection. Seem familiar? This orange flower might be Cowboy's Delight, I don't know. Unfortunately, I can't really do this bit this time. There aren't thousands of random pieces of evidence to, put all together at the end like last time. The thing is, last time that evidence was all paper thin, despite there being so much of it, whereas this time around there's actually some pretty solid evidence. It feels less like a crazy long shot this time. If I'm being entirely honest, gun to my head, Woody theory has about a 6 out of 10 chance of actually being real. But hey, there is another theory. You see, one thing I find really funny about the original Woody theory is that ever since it got popular, once in a while I'll get a very confused comment on the video wondering why more than half of the Woody theory video is not Woody theory. In reality, I actually made that video to comment on the fandom theorizing that Toby Fox is tricking us and lying in the newsletters. The Woody theory portion of the video was just me saying, okay, if you really think Toby's hiding secrets in every sentence, here's how far you could take it. It ended up growing and becoming this huge thing, though. Now, halfway through Woody Theory 2, I would like to pause and, yet again, pivot to something completely different. There is a different second Woody Theory, a second Woody Theory, that might seem a little bit more likely than the one I just said, and it's that Toby was sort of lying, but also telling the truth. Chapter 3 has a lot of cut areas. There was indeed a cowboy segment that was cancelled, as well as another whole board. And looking back at the night again, it is sort of a weird boss, isn't it? It's the only secret boss that is not accessed the same way as the others, and it doesn't have the freedom motif in its theme. What am I getting at? Well, what if Woody theory was true? 100% true. The cowboy segment being cancelled was actually part of the storyline, as we see Tenna reference. There was a planned abandoned cowboy area with a Woody-style character as the intended secret boss, or just an NPC. However, it was then actually cancelled for pacing reasons. It's really strange that the Shadow Mantle isn't actually required to defeat the Knight. Shawm told us that without the Shadow Mantle, we're not going to be able to get that third crystal. And yet, we are. The fight is extremely difficult, and if the Shadow Mantle made it so the fight was, well, a lot less difficult, then I guess I'd understand, but it really doesn't. It just gives you a little more defense, while the fight remains extremely difficult. It took me over an hour to beat the Knight, so what's the deal with that? Why is the Shadow Mantle way less important than suggested? I think most people were expecting that the secret boss would be genuinely unbeatable unless we have it. And perhaps that was the plan, but it was scrapped. adding a cowboy section on top of the 3 game boards, one which was eventually scrapped, on top of the mantle section, on top of the Tenna fight, on top of the complex egg puzzle, on top of the night fight, would have just been too much. So, the Woody character was legitimately cancelled. I have no proof of this. I don't think there's anything wrong with this either. This isn't me criticizing Toby Fox or anyone on the dev team. That's just something that happens in game development. Sometimes things don't work out and you just have to cut them. And there's zero proof that this was actually the case. It's just wild speculation based on the fact that Toby said a cowboy section was cancelled. And it was. Tenna references a cancelled cowboy show in cut dialogue, and the secret boss works completely differently than all the rest, and lacks the freedom motif all the others have. I've also seen people on the internet suggest that NPC's dialogue about all of the lands that used to be part of the Chapter 3 Dark World that were eventually removed was actually commentary on the fact that they did exist in the original plans for the Chapter 3 Dark World, but were scrapped. I mean, a watery basin sounds like a kitchen area or the sink. We know that the best Inu that was on the, the Spanton Sweepstakes, that was actually cut. We see that there's stuff in the code for that awards, the Hall of Fame thing that was never in the game. So maybe that was stuff planned for Chapter 3 that didn't eventually make it. Alternatively, it could be a combination of these two ideas. Perhaps Woody Theory was real, scrapped, and then moved over to Chapter 5. Or maybe I'm half right. There was a Woody character, but he was a silly joke NPC in the planned desert area, and not the secret boss for the scrapped cowboy area. Or maybe Woody Theory 2 is actually real, and we're going to fight him again in Chapter 5. I honestly have to say, Woody Theory is one of those things that's incredibly funny to me. To try and sit here and say it's something special or magical would be kind of cringe, but, I mean, isn't it? Woody Theory is rarely even associated with me anymore, and that's not a complaint whatsoever. That's great. I mean, this community took the idea and ran with it. The Friend Inside Me Twitter accounts, the incredible fan-made animations and boss fights, the memes, the jokes, the references. It's sort of inescapable, and as much as it's inherently dumb, it makes me smile every time I see someone lose their minds at the word friend being anywhere near inside. One thing I do think is worth saying about this video is that as soon as I finished Chapters 3 and 4, I wanted to make a video on the lore overall. I wanted to make a video about, the prophecy and all that, which I did. And I said that I'd want to make a follow-up video on Friend Inside Me and Woody Theory. I started putting together the evidence, I saw the floral cowboy thing, I thought maybe there's some connection, but the community kind of put this together as well. Like, I've received emails, even today as I'm recording this video, I received another email of someone saying, Friend Inside Me is possible, and they've sent me the evidence that, I have in this video and stuff. Like, other people are thinking this too. It is a community effort, I guess, to see so many other people on Twitter who also kind of have, ideas related to this. It's really cool. I don't mean to sound stupid and sappy, but it is kind of cool that this second variation of Woody Theory was sort of created and universally realized by the community over the last few weeks. That's a cool thing, you know what I mean? I mean, Woody Theory 1 was out there, ridiculous, I don't know what I was thinking, and then, everybody went so crazy with it and created their characters and their art and all this stuff, and now it's like everybody's universally on the edge of their seat hoping for Woody in Deltarune, which is so crazy. I think a special shout out has to be given to the Pete and VB boss fight made by Pootstiblook. If you're looking for a Woody Theory boss fight that is all but canon, this is the video for you. It's pretty much everything I'd want from an actual real Woody character battle, complete with an insane sing-along section towards the end. I know that the wait for Chapters 3 and 4 felt like forever, and at times everyone felt like they were going a bit crazy. Cough, cough, that time we all sat around and watched the Staggering Winds livestream for 7 years because it was vaguely connected to Friend Inside Me or something. But I think that with Chapter 5 coming out next year, this is the last time we'll have something like that. A year is not a long wait, and there's still so much to talk about with Chapters 3 and 4 alone, let alone all the future newsletters, any other teasers, and whatever else happens between now and Chapter 5's release. I do look forward to this next year. And I hate to end this video on a stupid, cringy, sappy note, but I just want to say that maybe the Deltarune community were the friends inside each other all along.